Howard Schultz, thank you so much for speaking to Bloomberg.
Happy
Milan, does this bring you back to 1983?
This is the quintessential moment for Starbucks, and as you know, it started in '83 when I came here as a young man, walking around the streets of Milan and Verona, and I became enamored with the Italian coffee bar and was fortunate enough to realize my first dream, to bring that back to the U.S. And many, many years later, here we are, really trying to complete that circle, and we are announcing that we're opening a roastery at the old post office, and I think it's going to be spectacular.
Bring me back to 1983, first of all. So you walk around Milan,
yes,
and the first thing you say is, wow, there are coffee shops everywhere.
Well, the interesting thing is I think people don't really know the story, and that is, Starbucks had 3 stores in Seattle, and we were selling coffee only for the home. No beverage at all. So when I came to Milan for the first time, walking to all these coffee bars and seeing espresso, cappuccino, cafe latte, and seeing the sense of community around coffee, I realized we were kind of in the wrong segment of the business. But what really struck me is coming back to these bars every day, I began to see the same people at the same time of day. And it was that human connection that really struck me. Could we replicate this through the lens of an American experience and create the third place in America between home and work with coffee as the beverage and romancing it? And with 25,000 plus stores in 75 countries later, I think we can say with humility we did a pretty good job.
Did you ever doubt it?
Oh, I doubted it at moments where we had significant challenges. I grew up as a poor kid in Brooklyn. I had no money, I had no resources, just a dream. And I think it speaks to the American entrepreneurial spirit that a young kid from public housing, the promise of America and the American dream was available to me.
What is the one thing you've learned about people and coffee over the last, 30 years almost?
I think what I've learned now that we have stores all over the world, from China to Japan to the Middle East to Latin America to Europe, is that there is a universal acceptance to Starbucks because people are longing for human connection. And coffee and Starbucks has brought people together. And perhaps, given the environment that we're all living in today, there's a longing for that human connection more than ever before.
Talk to me a little bit about Italy. It was we've been waiting for you to actually come in Italy for a very long time. Why has it been so difficult?
I've been asked that many times, as you might imagine. Coming to Italy strategically, it's not the biggest market in the world, but it's the most important market for me personally and for the company. Why? Because the Italians mastered coffee way before Starbucks. We're not coming here to teach the Italians how to make coffee, but we are coming here to present our interpretation of what coffee could be. And I also realize that our success all over the world is not going to entitle us to success here. We're going to have to earn it. So we weren't ready, and we have to come here with humility and respect and reverence for all things Italian and the coffee. But the site, the location, in my mind, could not be a small Starbucks store. It had to be something
the wow
grand.
Factor.
Yes. And so we opened our first roastery in Seattle 2 years ago. It's massive. It's over 20,000 square feet, 2,000 meters. The roastery at the post office will be larger, more dramatic, and I'm involved in every I'm so fastidiously involved in every detail, including creating this new coffee for the Milanese people. It's going to be incredible.
Is it more difficult to sell coffee to the Italians than it is to the French?
Well, we've been pretty successful in France and in Paris specifically. We'll have to see. We've done some market research here, not a lot, but the thing that has surprised us is the awareness of Starbucks, especially among young people. The majority of young Italians have consumed Starbucks coffee in other places, and there's such excitement among them. So I feel pretty good about it, but I'm taking nothing for granted.
So talk to me about this new site. It's in the old Poste Italiane.
Yes.
You're taking every single piece of detail yourself.
Yeah,
when will it open? End of 2018?
It'll open towards the end of 2018. The architecture of the building is spectacular. I have great respect for what that building has represented. We're going to use it to our advantage because when you walk in, we're going to take you on a magical carpet ride. And the Roastery in Seattle has been labeled as the Willy Wonka of coffee. And we're going to take that and put it on steroids for the Italian experience. Literally, I think people have no idea what we're about to do.
Well, because it's bigger than Seattle.
It's not only the bigger, it's going to be so theatrical and so romantic, and the level of innovation and design and creativity. I think it'll be the balance of coffee, art, fashion, and tremendous innovation in terms of technology as well.
Are we going to see standalone Starbucks shops after that in Italy?
You will see standalone shops as well, and I think we're sitting in a Princi bakery. And when I came to Italy over the last few years and had Rocco Princi's bread and pastries, I knew I was tasting something of a true artisan. And I went to Rocco and I said, is it possible to create a partnership with you and bring your food into a Starbucks environment? He had never done that before. We flew him to Seattle to see the Roastery, and I think once he saw the Roastery in Seattle, he said, are you going to do this in Italy? I said, yes, and he said, I will give you my food. So we're going to have the best possible culinary, artisanal food experience coupled with a dramatic experience for our customers.
So how many stores are you expecting in Italy over the next 5-10 years?
You know, I think we have not said publicly, but if you look at our history, we've tended to open 10 to 12 stores a year. But the Roastery is like as many stores in one.
What is one thing that surprised you the most in Europe? I know you've been very focused on expansion in Asia. Yeah. Is Europe different? I don't know if it's labor laws or if it's the taxation system. Is it more difficult?
It's not more difficult. I think the challenge whenever we open in a new market is to present the Starbucks experience and trying to localize it for the local market. We've done that well in the UK and France and Germany and Spain. Italy will be no different, except the true essence of everything we've done over 45 years is steeped in Italian culture. And so we have to come here with tremendous humility and respect.
Talk to me a little bit about some of the technology that you've been using. You've really pushed this.
Yeah.
But you've had, what, an oversubscription of orders where you're at your desk, you order a coffee, and then you just show up and grab it.
Well, I think we invested way ahead of the technology and the growth curve in a mobile ecosystem in the U.S. And today, over 25% of our customers in North America are paying with their phone in advance, and many are using it to order in advance and come in while it's ready. Well, the good news is the technology has been embraced. I don't want to say the bad news, but the challenge has been it's been so wildly successful that in many stores it's created congestion in the morning that we are in the process of fixing.
How?
Because we're creating multiple new stations that will create a opportunity for the mobile order person as well as the person in the store. But the point is that we've created a fantastic mobile ecosystem with loyalty, with technology, with content, with rewards, and we will be bringing that all over the world. And we have a few new surprises that we will announce at our annual meeting with regard to technology on the 22nd of March.
But it's more technology. It won't be less technology.
No, it's more technology.
It'll be more technology.
Yeah. And when I say technology, I think all we're trying to do is recognize this, and that is that every bricks and mortar retailer today must recognize that we must be as relevant on people's smartphone and their mobile devices as we are inside our stores. And we've done that as well or better than any other company in the world. In fact, in China today, 3 weeks ago, we announced this partnership with Tencent. And we became a company with Tencent that you can do social gifting. So you could be sending another person, a friend, a family member, a latte or actually Starbucks money. And that has been wildly successful in 3 weeks. And that's just the beginning. Social gifting will be part of Starbucks all over the world in time.
Howard, talk to me a little bit about the Chinese market. Will it change and evolve over time?
Well, China for Starbucks, people don't realize we've been in China for 17 years. We have 2,600 stores in China in over 125 cities. We open a new store in China every day. It's been a fantastic market for us, and the Roastery, the next Roastery, which will be 30,000 square feet, 3,000 meters on Nanjing Road, will be incredible, opening in December. And I said publicly that China probably will exceed the U.S. in terms of the number of stores. We just introduced...
By what year?
We haven't said what year, but I think
soon?
it will be bigger than the U.S. over time. We've just brought our consumer products business to China in a partnership with Tingyi, so ready-to-drink bottle Frappuccino is now in China. And we're also doing things in China for our customers and our partners. As an example, we have an annual meeting that I attend every year for the parents of our people, of our employees, to honor and respect the family. And I think, again, this is another opportunity to demonstrate the humanity of the company and being locally relevant, not only on things that are customer-facing, but also for our own people.
Howard, do you open a Chinese store differently to the Italians or the French? Do the Chinese, take a lot more takeaway coffees, or do they sit down and have it there?
Every market is different, but every market is the same. Let me explain. The equity of the Starbucks brand in Seattle 45 years ago and today everywhere in the world is exactly the same. And what I mean by that is we are sourcing and roasting the highest quality coffee in the world. We have great designs and store locations, but the equity of the brand is based on the experience. The experience comes to life with the people who wear the green apron. Our obligation, our responsibility as managers and leaders is to exceed the expectations of our own people so they can exceed the expectations of the customer. There's 331,000 people all over the world who wear the green apron. 91 million customers last week came into Starbucks stores. They didn't come in because of advertising or marketing or because of technology. That's the price of admission. They came in because of the emotional relationship they have with our people and the experience that exists in our stores. And that experience is universally accepted all over the world, and hopefully it'll be accepted here in Italy.
But this is the dream of so many entrepreneurs. How did you achieve that? A kind of a recognizable brand that people want to go over and over to.
Well, I think we've built the company in a very different way. I mean, people know that Starbucks has created a business plan over the years that was based on the balance of profit and social impact. First company to give equity in the form of stock options, comprehensive health insurance to every employee. 2 years ago, free college tuition. In China, we just gave housing allowance to our employees, our partners who are traveling long distances. Not every decision, in my view, is economic. I think the price of admission is financial performance, but I don't wake up every day saying, how are we going to make more money? How are we going to ring the register? I wake up every day saying, how can we really create a deep sense of loyalty with our people and our customers based on our values, our guiding principles? And listen, we are living in a world today that is very fragile, and there's a lot of uncertainty. And I think we have an obligation and a responsibility as a company to add value to humanity. And if I could say it in my own parlance, this is a time where I think we as private citizens and as business people need to build bridges, not walls.
Is that why you announced the hiring of 10,000 refugees earlier
for
this
me,
year?
that decision was not a political decision. It was a decision based on the values of our company and our guiding principles. I believe very strongly that your station in life, your sexual preference, the color of your skin, the country you were born in, should not define the opportunities that we have as people. And if Starbucks as a company can create an environment where the entrepreneurial spirit and the opportunity for everyone is based on merit, then I think we're doing a pretty good job. And that's what I want to try and do as a company.
Do you see the fabric of America changing?
I'm still very, very optimistic about America. We clearly are going through a change and inflection point politically. but I am the quintessential optimist about the promise of America, the American dream, and I want to do everything I can to advance that and be a symbol for American entrepreneurship and also a values-based company.
Do you think a lot of CEOs will follow suit in what you're doing?
I think more and more people recognize that we have a collective responsibility as business people, not just to make money, but to add value back to our society and the people that we employ.
How should big listed CEOs deal with the Trump administration?
You know, I can't speak for other CEOs. I can only speak for myself, and you know, I want America to succeed and do everything I can to be of help.
Are you sad you're stepping down as CEO?
Well, this has been planned for quite some time, but I'm stepping down to do something quite exciting, and that is build an ultra-premium brand of Starbucks Reserve, build these roasteries, and most importantly, enter Italy.
And that's what I mean, how much of this is actually a sense of personal achievement that you've entered Italy?
Well, I think for me, I was talking to my kids, my wife's traveling with me. This is a very, very emotional moment for me. I've waited a long time to do this. The post office site, I feel like it was just meant to be, waiting for us. So this is a pretty significant milestone for me, personally.
Do you travel and speak to politicians a lot in Europe?
Yes, I do, and I'm trying, in a sense, to understand the world, to bring my own understanding and sensibility. I've been asked to speak to many places. I'm speaking at the university this afternoon, and to be an ambassador for the country and also try and demonstrate a high degree of sensibility about the things that I think are really important to build a great enduring society, and that is to embrace humanity. And once again, not to repeat myself, but this is a time in the world to build bridges, not walls.
Howard, we spoke to the Austrian Chancellor just 2 days ago on our show, and he was mentioning Starbucks because of taxes.
Yes.
You've been embroiled in taxes. How do you respond to that criticism?
Well, I think without criticizing any particular person or municipality, sometimes a company that is iconic as Starbucks gets pulled into things that the whole story is not really told. We paid 18 million pounds of tax last year in the UK. I think that is emblematic of our commitment to do things the right way. I personally believe 100% in transparency and want to do everything we can to make sure that there's trust in everything we do, and we're an open book.
Does it impact your customers, the perception, I'm thinking of taxes or refugees, or do you do it as a CEO no matter what?
Well, we want to pay fair and equitable taxes. Let's put that aside 100% of the time, and never do anything else that would even remotely be inconsistent with being ethical and doing the right thing. With regard to the decision about refugees or things of that nature, I think it's important to embrace your core purpose and your reason for being in all aspects of the business. And leadership and being a strong leader can't be when it's convenient. It's easy to be a great leader when you have the wind at your back. It's a little harder when you have the wind at your face. And I think leadership is defined many, many times when you have to make a tough but just decision. And, we employ over 330,000 people, and what question I ask myself when we are making tough decisions is this decision going to make our people proud? And that's the litmus test. And I think our profitability and our financial success as a public company in 25 years is a record of incredible achievement. And that achievement is based on the fact that we have done the right thing in achieving the fragile balance between profit, social impact, and being a values-based company. We're not perfect, we make mistakes, but our heart, our soul, and our commitment to humanity is always at the front.
What's the toughest decision that you've had to make over the last 30 years?
The toughest decision I've had to make. I think when I came back to Starbucks in 2008 as CEO, during the cataclysmic financial crisis, we had to close many, many stores. The first time in our history we had to do that. That was a very tough decision because it was an anathema to the growth and development of the company. But we've been a blessed company. I look back on where I grew up and my own history. I wish my parents were alive to see what we've been able to do, and feel very blessed that we've had tough decisions, but I wouldn't trade anything for what we've been able to do. And I would say metaphorically, I think about our situation as a reservoir. We want to make deposits, not withdrawals, in the reservoir of humanity. And I want to think about how do we do that, and do that in a way in which we can be the kind of company, in a sense, that has reinvented the role and responsibility of a public company with words that are not taught in business school. Empathy, compassion, love. That is what the world needs right now, not things that are skewed towards hate or bigotry, and that's what I want our company to try and stand for.
And do you think more companies will do the same as you? We have a couple of ethical companies.
I think more and more people recognize this is a time to embrace those characteristics and attributes, and it's good business. It's good business.
Is it good business because of social media? Because people find out what you do? Is it possible now?
Well, I think social media can be a double-edged sword. Social media can create fiction that becomes truth, but I think we want to recognize that we want to be the kind of company that demonstrates truthfulness and transparency, and use social media to tell our story. But I think social media also has created a sense of news travels very fast, and sometimes, as you know, it's not true. But we do live in a currency of now. Everything is now. But I think thinking about creating a great company is, I want to live in a currency of trust.
But Howard, this is from the little boy that you were back in Brooklyn. I mean, have you always been this way?
Well, I think I think the imprinting of my childhood scarred me as a poor kid, and I think I carry that sensibility with me. And I have a lot of concern and empathy for lots of people who are being left behind in America and around the world. And if I can do things in the position that I'm in to be a voice and to be helped, then I want to try and do that.
Who's the person or the people that influenced you the most in becoming the leader that you are today?
Well, it's an easy answer for me because my mother, who was not an educated person, and I've told this story before when I was... Do you have time for this story?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm growing up in public housing in Brooklyn, New York. I'm 6 or 7 years old, and my mother takes me by the hand, not knowing where we're going, and we're walking and walking and walking. It feels like miles. And we get to a rally, a huge rally. And I'm a young boy, and I can't see over anyone's head, but I can hear. And who do I hear? I hear a young senator running for president, John F. Kennedy, in Brooklyn, in New York. And my mother's hand is gripping my hand tighter. And I can look up at her face, and I see her face smiling, and she's euphoric because he's speaking to her. And what is he saying? He's talking about optimism. He's talking about opportunity. And he's saying to her, and in a sense to this young boy, regardless of your station in life, that America, the promise of the country, is for you. And that moment, that experience, changed me. And as I said,
how? So at the time you thought actually I can...
Well, it's not only the idea of being a 6 or 7 year old boy, but it's my mother's belief in America and my mother imprinting in me that regardless of where we were living or the fact that we had no money, that you have opportunity. And that's why I'm so sensitive right now to watching the world segregate and discriminate. And I think we got to be very careful and very mindful that there are millions of people who deserve an opportunity, and they have talent, and they have assets, and they have resources. And America has been a land of immigrants. And so I feel an unusual level of empathy and compassion to try and recognize that there are probably two sides to the story, and perhaps we should be open.
But what's happening right now? Is it a backlash against globalization? Is it innovation?
I think you can't answer that question in one sentence. There are lots of different factions, and I think we just have to be true to what we believe in.
Would you ever go into politics?
What I'm doing today is what I want to do.
But what about in 5 years? You seem like a born politician.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I don't know.
Right. Talk to me a little bit about how Italy came about. So who you want to see for this Poste Italiane? Was there a moment? How long have you been working on this?
I've probably been working personally on Italy for about 3 years. So I come to Italy every year. And
for work or pleasure?
You can't come to Italy for work and not have pleasure. You know that. So I have lots of friends here, and I've been helped and guided by the fact that I think this was the right time for us to come. Brunello Cucinelli is a very good friend of mine, and he's been a good resource for me. I spent actually Saturday with him, and looking around the real estate. My friends at Zara have helped me. Pablo's been a great help looking at real estate, and my friends in Spain. So this was the right time. And then I saw this location, and with the municipality and the fact that the building is owned by Blackstone, so I was able to tell the Starbucks story. The mayor has been very helpful, and also the fact that we want to build something that does not exist here in Italy. The kind of retail experience that will redefine not only coffee, but I think redefine retail.
Why Milan and not Rome or Venice?
I just felt Milan because I came here in '83 was the right place for me. We'll get to Rome eventually, but I felt Milan was the place. Fashion, art, I just felt this was it for me. And now we've designed the space, and it's going to be incredible. It'll open towards the end of 2018. I wish it was coming sooner. And we're going to wait to open the additional stores because we think the Roastery has to be the quintessential moment. And hopefully you'll come back to the opening.
will. I'll definitely come back. That's a deal. What comes after Milan? Worldwide.
Well, we have Roasteries now. Shanghai is December. Milan, New York is under construction in the meatpacking district. Tokyo's been announced, and there'll be another U.S. city announced probably at our annual meeting on March 22nd. And we'll see from there.
Howard, I just want to go back to politics a little bit, because you have very strong, very compelling views, right, about what happens next. Do people need to regroup? I don't know if it's liberals or how you want to call the people that believe in globalization or building bridges.
Well, I don't think the issue is globalization. I think the issue right now is we need to embrace humanity, and I don't think you can link that to globalization as the issue. And I'm not a politician. I'm really here to talk about Starbucks. I have concerns, but I do have great faith and great optimism, both in the American people and our greater society at large, and that the world will be in a good place. But we are going through an inflection point, and I think we've been through inflection points before. We will get through this.
In terms of business and finance, do you worry about currency fluctuations, or is all of that because it's out of your hand?
Yeah, well, I think we've been in business 45 years. We've seen lots of cyclical changes in currency and commodity prices. It's like the weather. We have to manage through it.
It's amazing the scope and the size that Starbucks has become in so little time. When a young entrepreneur comes to see you, says, Howard, I want to be like you. I want to have that vision. I want to employ 300,000 people. What do you tell them is their common mistake that they should avoid?
First off, I think you must surround yourself with people with like-minded values, with people who have experience and are smarter than you are, but like-minded values. You have to realize that there are going to be significant challenges and obstacles, and people are going to come to you and tell you, perhaps you're dreaming too big, and this can't be. And the difference, I think, between winning and losing is that unbridled level of unbelievable passion, commitment, and courage to overcome those challenges. And if you look at the last few years, the entrepreneurial spirit is more alive and well than ever before, in part because of technology, but also because of the entrepreneurial, innovative spirit that is not only American-based. And
but Americans are better at it.
I don't know if that's true or not. I think we get too much credit about that. Look at Brunello, what he's done in Italy against all odds. And he's making the product and committed to making it in Italy. It says so much about him, and also that the consumer is willing to pay for it.
But are Americans better at scaling up quickly?
Perhaps there's greater opportunity for capital and resources, and maybe that is one of the reasons. But I don't think you can say Americans are better at it than anyone else.
Okay, I know you're out of time,
okay.
So just one or two final questions.
Yeah.
On do you have a motto? I don't know if
a motto.
Yeah. How do you lead as a CEO? Not as the company, but actually for your employees.
Success is best when it's shared. That is pretty simple.
And that came from who? Your mother?
I think that just came from recognizing that's how life should be.
And that served you how?
I think every decision that I try and make is through the lens of recognizing we have to make our people proud, we have to share success, and we have to achieve that fragile balance between profit and social impact. And no business, you can't create a great enduring business if your sole motivation every single day is just to make money. It's a shallow goal. You're not going to attract and retain great people. The essence of building a great enduring company is culture and values. That culture has to be a situation in which people feel like they're part of something larger than themselves because there's truth and people believe in the mission, and that has to be values-based.
And shareholders understand that?
Well, as I said earlier, financial performance is the price of admission. We have to perform. But I think what I've said humbly and respectfully for 25 years as a public CEO is we want to build a great enduring company, but we want to take the long view. And if you look at our financial history and our success, I think we get pretty high marks for significantly creating value for our shareholders way above our peer group. And what I'm most proud of is we've done that not on the backs of our people, but by sharing it with our people and sharing it in the community. This year we opened a store in Ferguson, Missouri, in Jamaica, Queens. We've hired almost 10,000 veterans. We're doing things today that no company ever dreamed they could do. Give free college tuition to every employee because that's the right thing to do, and it will create better relationships. It will attract great people, higher performance, higher commitment. So all these things are threaded into a set of values, and that is how we have tried to build our company. But in the end, we're not perfect. We make mistakes, but we make decisions through the lens of being a values-based company.
Is there another company or CEO that you admire?
Oh, there's so many. I mean, I think what Mark Benioff has done at Salesforce, and his view of giving back to the communities that I think what Nike stands for. And the Nike Foundation, especially many, many years ago, they had some issues. They've overcome that. I think, I could name 20, 30 companies right out of the gate that are not only in the consumer business products business, but even a company like Unilever, which is a giant company that has done so much for sustainability and the environment.
Howard Schultz, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.